Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to have you with me. Welcome. And my name is Carrie Scott. I am the Managing Director of Client Services here at Evolved Office. And I have to be honest with you and let you know that I took a little sneak peek of the registrants, and I know some of you, and some of you are new names, which is awesome. So I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to introduce myself, let you know who I am, and then we will dive right in. So, quick intro of me is that I've been at Evolved Office for nearly 10 years now, working to help dealers and MSPs market their hardware and software and services. Um, Prior to that, I got my bachelor's at UNC Chapel Hill and my master's at Auburn in communication and journalism, specializing in rhetoric. And after that, I worked in the nonprofit sector to really working with different organizations, mostly in healthcare and legal industries, market their services. So I have some experience when it comes to writing and creating marketing content. And with the advent of AI, it's been fascinating to see how this has changed the way that we work. And today, as you know, we're going to really just focus in on how to write commands, aka prompts. They're kind of interchangeable. So um, let's dive in. One thing to note is that today is starting a series, right? So we're talking about commands here initially, but we're going to do this AI series where we're going to dive in a little bit deeper over the coming months, talking about getting creative with AI and brainstorming, how teams can leverage AI from sales to, well, marketing, to HR and accounting. Um, We'll talk about its impact on business fundamentals. So when you're thinking about um, how to build strategy, what are the best practices that are current, and general business building, you can really leverage AI for that. And then finally, we'll dip our toes into the water of the very broad conversation about the limitations and risks of AI, and how, despite what our tinfoil hat wearer friends are saying, AI isn't going to replace us. Um, we're going to talk a little bit about that later. But today, as you know, we're going to start off talking about commands. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk about, why does AI matter? We're going to go through these 5 tips: being specific, consistent, mindful of verbs, being flexible, and iterative. I'll give some examples of each, and we'll talk about how that can apply to your daily lives, your professional lives, and then we'll bring it all together at the end and show some AI in action. So let's get started. Why does AI matter? Well, you're here, so you know that it matters, right? But I'm going to go over a couple of reasons why it actually should be taken really seriously. Now, this list is not comprehensive by any stretch of the imagination, but when it comes to daily work, these are kind of the heavy hitters when it comes to why AI matters. First of all, it's here to stay. It's growing and advancing and evolving, pun intended, sorry, I had to get better and better every day. So something to keep in mind during the duration of this presentation is that I'm talking about AI as it stands today. So some of these tips may not ring as true in, say, 2028, right? So something to keep in mind, it's evolving all the time and it's permeating all aspects of our lives, right? Whether that's personal or professional. But in the professional space, if you're not leveraging AI, you may fall behind, and we don't want that to happen, right? So that's why it's really important to kind of take it seriously. AI can definitely empower your experts too, right? So AI is a tool. It's just like any other tool that you provide to your team. And just like any other software or tool that people use, it's really important to leverage it. But to do that, you've got to learn how to use it and you've got to practice, right? So it once your team knows how to use AI, it can really, really kind of help them flourish within their roles. And then lastly, the last heavy hitter I wanted to touch on is that AI definitely can enhance your customer experience from prospecting to just customer support day in, day out. It can make the difference between a lackluster and a fantastic customer experience. And so leveraging that is really important. And I don't have to tell anyone here how important the customer experience and customer satisfaction is when it comes to your bottom line. So how do you do that? The first thing is to explore a couple of tips to write amazing commands. And let's dive in. We're going to go in the first tip right now, and that is to be specific. Okay. Telling AI exactly what you want is your first goal here and your first step to creating an output that's going to give you what you're looking for. So, what do you want? Do you want a fully written article? Do you want Google ad text? Do you want an email to send to a prospect? Are you writing a speech? A list of ideas to get a project started? You've got a lot of different options, and you've got to tell AI what you want. Um, be detailed in your instructions to avoid confusion and to really help improve that accuracy. I like to think of AI, hang with me now, right, is kind of like giving a sixth grader an assignment, right? So if you're very short with your instructions, it's going to give exactly what it gets, right? The more you tell it, the better the final outcome. So be specific, talk about what you want. And I'm using kind of some real world examples here on the slide where suggest some books, and it's telling me, okay, here's some classics. You have Moby Dick and Brave New World and War and Peace, and that is not what I'm looking for. I will never read War and Peace again. Thank you. So what I really want, right, the more specific command here on the right is to recommend a few contemporary nonfiction memoirs by women that are entertaining and funny. And just visually, I know this is a lot of text for a slide, I will own that, but visually you can see the difference between this very short response and this really detailed response here where it's saying, okay, Tina Fey's Bossy Pants and Yes, Please by Amy Poehler are two really good examples. Here's the author. We're lacking that in the first one. Here's a little synopsis of what you're going to get into so you can kind of decide what you want to go with. It's giving you so much more information just by adding a little bit more context, a little bit more information here in your command. So think about that as you are approaching AI and just sitting in front of the blank screen with the cursor flashing. The more you give it, the better it's going to produce that outcome. Another thing about being specific is to consider your audience and the tone that you're looking for. Now, these aren't the best prompts ever written, but the real big difference here is that we are identifying the tone. So if you're looking to present yourself as the expert, then formal might be exactly what you need. If you're looking to be more approachable and friendly, say that you want to be friendly in the prompt itself, right? Look at the difference between these two outputs. Just even in the first line, hi Gary versus dear Gary, right? There's a formality there. If you're not identifying it within the command itself, you might get something that's not great for your audience. If you've known Gary and worked with Gary for 3 years, this is going to seem a little stuffy and not personal enough and not honoring the relationship that you've already built with him. So that might mean that a friendly outcome is a lot better when it comes to the tone. So think about that. Are you sending it to a bigger list? Are they C-level execs and you do need to be more formal? Tell AI to do that. And it will. It will. I really like the difference here between the friendly and formal in these examples and this last sentence, right? So being friendly is let's connect and see how we can support your goals, right? Friendly, overarching. Versus this more formal ending, we would welcome the opportunity to discuss how we can assist in achieving your company's objectives. Who's your audience and what tone fits your audience? That's really important, and that's part of being specific in your prompt. I do want to touch on one more thing, and that is just to say to provide some context is always great. So are you trying to persuade? Are you trying to inform, convince? What are you doing? um, that helps. If you provide that information, it really helps determine how that output is going to look, and it's just going to give you better and better results. Okay, last thing about being specific, it applies to image generation as well, right? So on the left, the command is draw an image of a dog. Well, AI is it's like talking to Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. It's literally drawing an image of a dog. It's giving you the colored pencils. It's very literal in its final product when whatever it's producing. So if you're saying to draw an image of a dog, it's saying, okay, here's some colored pencils where you drew this image of the dog. It's not what you wanted. And that's because it's just you're not giving it enough context, you're not giving it enough information here, you're not specific enough in this example. When I say generate an image of a happy Westie with in a dreamy style for a children's book, the dog should be in a modern home's backyard. I am getting exactly what I asked for here, right? Like um you're seeing the tones come out. The dreamy style is here. This is in fact a Westie. It's in a yard. It's everything that I'm asking it to do. So if this was what I'm looking for and this is what I get when I first put in this initial command, you've got a long way to go between point A and point B when it comes to that final output that you're looking for. So the better you can start, the less time it's going to take, the more refined your output's going to be, and the closer it is to what you want it to be in the end. Okay, so being specific definitely applies to images as well. Also, as an aside, those of you who know me know that I have two Westies, so thank you for humoring me and allowing me to present them within this presentation. Um, okay, let's talk about the next tip, which is to be consistent. Now, we're taught in grade school and elementary school to vary our writing, to change up our sentence structure, to use synonyms, and to really kind of make our writing as bold and as creative as possible. But when it comes to writing commands or prompts for AI, synonyms are not your friends. It actually can confuse the AI about what you're asking it, right? So staying consistent is really, really important. If you're writing and saying, hey, uh, talking about the recipient, you want to inform or persuade the recipient, it can be that or prospect, but it can't be both within your prompt where you're telling AI what you want it to do. Uh, Keeping the same language over and over allows AI to really fully understand what you're wanting and what you're asking it to do. Conversely, you can see in this example, you can't use the same language, right? You can't ask AI to write you a job description and then in your prompt say, here's the job description, lead the sales team and manage all sales operations. You're asking for it to do this, but you're giving the description to AI. It doesn't understand that. And it can get really confused and it can just throw you off course, right? So what you would do here in this example is say, okay, write the job description, maybe change this to be objectives or some other way of identifying what this is so you don't confuse AI and you get the output that you want, right? So write a job posting is another example here. You want to stay the same when you are identifying your and writing out your prompt or command. Okay. Tip number 3 is to be mindful of verbs. So, verbs are action words. And when you're talking to AI, you want to ask for exactly what you want by using very direct and thoughtful verbs in your commands. So, one thing to remember is that AI typically understands, it knows that it wants you, that you're going to ask it to do one of two things, right? You're either going to write something, whether that's text or code or speech, whatever it is, it's either going to write or it's going to generate an image. Those are the two things. So you don't have to tell it to write, right? It knows that it needs to do that. If you can use strong verbs, it's going to produce a better output in the end for you. So describe what you want it to do within the command box, and you're going to get that better output. So some examples here are things like create, draft, outline, suggest, plan, edit, elaborate, summarize, condense, right? So what are you going to ultimately do in the end by using the right verb and matching that with your output? You're going to get a better result. So instead of saying something like rewrite this to be shorter, condense this. And what happens is it leaves this room. Okay, so you want to condense this, but what do you want to do to condense this? And it kind of pushes you to make sure that you're identifying what you really want it to do. Condense this how, right? Instead of give more info about this, you're going to say elaborate on this to do what? To inform better, to and provide more detail on X, Y, or Z, right? So it's going to convince you to, and it's going to prompt you really by using the right verb. It's going to prompt you to really explain what you want in the end instead of rewrite this, right? Write an interesting hook. Instead of that, hook the reader with what? You're going to fill in that blank, and it's going to push you to provide that information there at the beginning and really provide a better outcome in the end. So use your strong verbs, be mindful of what you're doing. Starting with the verb is always a good idea too, because it's going to just kind of set the tone for you when you're thinking about how best to tell AI what you want in the end. Okay, next tip, be flexible. Being flexible is just going to give you bigger results. So something to consider is that if you're overly rigid, right? If you are kind of formulaic in your commands, it's going to limit the scope that AI is going to produce for you. It's going to kind of, you'll see that you'll get stuck in a rut a little bit, and the outputs look very, very similar over time. And that's going to diminish the creativity at AI's fingertips, right? It's going to um, maybe miss something in whatever it's generating for you. So being overly rigid means that you're not going to get as creative a response as you could, right? So getting those broader insights is, if that's what you're after. So especially if you're looking for inspiration or brainstorming with AI for ideas, or if you want a range of ideas or options, this is a great thing to consider. Like, don't get stuck in that rut. Mix it up, be flexible, and get those broader insights and more creative outputs. And maybe even something better than you expected in the first place. So, think about, instead of create a social media post about X, Y, or Z, generate creative ideas for a social media campaign promoting whatever that is for you, whether that's, NPS or document management or a specific make and model of a machine, right? So when your output of create a social media post is going to be one social media post, it's going to literally interpret your prompt. When you're saying generate some creative ideas, it's going to give you a range. It's going to give you a list of different ideas. Your AI tool is going to just provide so much more information. So think about what your end result is and what you're looking for, and then be flexible within your approach to commands to give you a little bit more and get a little bit closer to what you're looking for. Okay, this last tip is to be iterative. And what I mean by that is providing this kind of cycle of feedback to hone in and get the best possible result. So, anyone that's used AI knows that you can't really expect perfection on the first go round when it comes to the outputs that you're getting. It is like that sixth grader you're giving the assignment to. It's a really smart sixth grader with, the internet at his fingertips, but it's a sixth grader nonetheless. So you really have to kind of have that conversation with your AI, right? Um, so that knowing that it's going to interpret things literally, and sometimes that doesn't work out the first time around. So if you course correct along the way, letting AI know what worked, what didn't, what you like, what you don't like, and kind of have that conversation with it, you're going to get that better output. So something to consider is like, hey, I really liked the third sentence. I like the tone and the language there. Apply that to the entire output, right? That's a great example. You tell it what you liked, and then say apply it to the rest of the piece. Um, it's a really great tool, especially if you need to adjust the tone, right? Remember the formal versus friendly. If it's too formal, being iterative is all about kind of course correcting along the way. So, hey, this is too formal. Let's make it a little bit more friendly. And then you'll get a new output that's a little bit closer to what you need in the end. Um, Level of detail is another way that you're going to be able to use this to really tighten up your response. So if it's too much, you can say condense this by 50%. It will cut it in half. Um, or if you need more detail, say elaborate on, points 2 and 3, and it'll do it. So that's where you're going through this cycle, right? You submit the prompt, your AI tool is going to generate that, the output, and then you provide it feedback, condense this, expand on this, elaborate. The tone isn't quite right? And then the output will be refined by your AI tool. So it's this cycle of getting it closer and closer to that target of what is perfect and exactly what you're looking for. And this is an important part. It's kind of foundational when it comes to AI and the best way to approach it. Okay. I do have a bonus tip for you. And that is it's a conversation. So if all else fails, ask. I know it's a little weird. It may feel a little awkward at first, but ask AI what it needs for you to get what you want. So here's some examples of that. What should I ask you to help me write a blank about blank? Like, what do you need? Tell me what else you need to produce this report, this speech. Ask AI what's going to make it better. This output isn't quite right. What suggestions do you have to make this better? Right? And it's going to provide that feedback to you. And because of the wealth of knowledge that is available to your AI tool, it's going to think of things that maybe you never thought of before, right? It's beyond the scope of you as a human. It's going to be able to really identify different options and best practices, what's worked for other people, things that you may not know and you probably don't know. But if you don't ask the question, you're never going to get that insight. So if you're stuck, if you have tried and it's just not, you're doing the iterative part, you're doing the cycle, and the feedback is not just quite right, take a beat and ask a question and say, what do you need from me to make this better? Okay. So let's tie this together and really bring it home when it comes to MSPs and dealers, office equipment dealers. So a few use cases. This is obviously not exhaustive. AI is great to help you gain insight, right? What's popular? What's not? Why is it popular? What's reliable? How can I compare, you know, this machine to that machine? And say that this one is better. What are the differences between these two machines? Or um, what are some objection handlers to document management, and how can I reply to that? Right. So AI is going to give you tons of information. You can even upload an Excel file, right? And ask AI to read the data and to provide you with insights on the data. What's going on with that? Right. What are some of the trends? Where help me troubleshoot? What are the recurring issues? AI is great for that, so it's something to consider here. um, Service and fleet management, auto scheduling, routine maintenance, analyzing your service records to pinpoint those recurring issues, troubleshooting. You can even optimize the routes of your service techs, right? Hey, Bill needs to go to these 5 places. What's the best route for him to take to get to all those places today? And can we maybe add a sixth stop for Bill today because you're cutting some time off, right? So leverage your AI smartly when it comes to how you're implementing it into your dealership or your MSP business, right? Obviously, daily tasks. I mean, ultimately, the big goal here with AI is to cut down and automate some of those routine rote tasks that don't require the human brain as much as other tasks, so people can really focus their efforts, right, and streamline some of those daily tasks. um, if you need email creation, whether that's prospecting or kind of, if you see, hey, I'm writing this email all the time, creating a template email, um, altering proposals and getting new language, and really like, what is the argument? How are you going to persuade that prospect to convert into a customer? Obviously, customer support. How do I respond to this without, in the most delicate way, or whatever that is? Asking AI to kind of read through some of your support tickets and see if they have any suggestions is always a good idea, particularly if it's something that's a little unusual or out of the way. But there are lots of daily tasks that you can use AI to help streamline your business and work more efficiently. Um, it's easier to edit something than it is to start from scratch. So AI is a great tool that's going to help you work smarter, not harder, right? And of course, I have to talk about marketing. We're Evolved Office, and so I want to dive in a little bit about marketing specifically today, and just show you some real world examples of that. So as an intro to that, I do want to talk about eoScribe a little bit. Hopefully, you've seen that eoScribe is now available in the Evolved Office platform for you. There are tons of tools out there, right? There's lots of different options, but wanted to really showcase eoScribe and show you how it's really built for you as a dealer, as an MSP. It is our latest feature. It's awesome. It's an amazing tool. It's really an app for you to use in your day-to-day marketing. It's different from other AI tools, and it's not by any stretch is it just like an AI writing tool. We partnered with Jasper, who's leading in content creation as far as AI tools are concerned, and we really built eoScribe around Jasper. So something to think about is that we didn't just kind of slap it on our platform and say, here's our AI. There's so much coding behind the scenes. There's so much work that our programmers did, just amazing work that they've done um, to make it to cater the AI to you as a dealer, as an MSP. So behind the scenes, we are saying, hey, this is a B2B audience, right? This is for from a business owner to business owners. This is um, the office equipment industry. This is the formatting that's typical, right? So that you don't have to think as hard about your prompts and commands when you're using eoScribe. And I'll show you that in just a second. Um, when you combine eoScribe, right, because it is built for you with our CRM integrations, with Salesforce and Sales Chain and Agent Dealer, Compass, you do really have that end-to-end solution where you don't have to leave our platform to interrupt your workflow. You can kind of get all of your marketing done. You can check your statistics and reports, and um, also make sure that marketing that you're sending is segmented and highly targeted, which is really best practice these days. It's all done within this one platform just for you. So that's really cool. And I wanted to show you a little bit about it and how to use it. Again, it's really like an app, and I'm just gonna go to this next slide, and we're gonna start a quick video here. And I may pause because I don't know if you know by now, but I'm a little talkative and I'm a little wordy, so I may pause it throughout. So when you are in your Evolved Office account, we're just going to show you an example of an e-shot here, right? Where you can either create your own e-shot or edit an existing suggested e-shot, newsletter, anything that you need within the Evolved Office space. So you don't have to start from scratch. That's just this example that we're giving you right now. And every structure here on the side has eoScribe attached to it. So it's not limited to any particular structures or any particular emails. It's everywhere, and it's really cool. So let's dive in. For those of you who have the Evolved Office platform, structures are kind of that foundational piece to creating an email from scratch. We use all the same structures within the suggested content that we are providing, but you'll have this. This is just that example of the first this structure here. So you'll see when you click inside the text box here, anywhere on the text, whether that's creating it from scratch or the suggested text that we provide, you're going to get the eoScribe app right here at the top right. So your toolbar, your normal like toolbars here at the bottom, but in this blue space, you can always click eoScribe, and let's show you what that looks like. I'm a little ahead of myself. Okay, here we go. Because this is from scratch creating your own content, it's going to default to generate new content. But if you're editing a piece of a suggested piece, you'll have some options here where this dropdown is going to say things like condense, elaborate, all the things that we've talked about, right? So that right off the bat, you don't have to worry about putting that into your prompt necessarily, right? It's going to know, hey, I want this to, I want you to elaborate, I want you to condense, I want you to rewrite or rephrase this. And we're giving you those options right off the bat from this drop-down menu. So in your prompt here, you don't have to worry about that. So with new content, it's going to default to generate new content, obviously, right? So this next part is super cool. You can select the industry that you want to target, right? And you can see we're starting off with agriculture, and this list is long. So lots of different vertical markets that you can target and use from this drop down. You can take a piece and say, okay, I want to target legal or education or finance. And by selecting the industry right here in the drop down, you don't have to worry about writing it in the prompt. It's going to know. And we're providing that to you so you can select from it and kind of take away some of the stress of, oh, and we have to change this to legal, right? Lots of options, like I said, and this is a great tool if you want to exponentially multiply your marketing, right? So you write a piece and then you say, okay, we want you to rephrase this, select the industry for education, and then it's going to tweak your content to be for education. You have your education list of educators and how those interactive whiteboards are on sale right now, and you send it to them, right? And it's going to be written for them, and they're more likely to read it if it is. So targeted marketing is huge. The industry is right here for you to select from. And again, it's just a quick drop down, so you can just go ahead and select what makes sense for you. This next option, I paused it too quickly, is you can localize it by state, right? So you can pick where you are, and really say, hey, serving Californians since 1949, right? Like, you can identify that there, not have to worry about writing that in your prompt. Huge advantage to really making that targeted marketing so that your message really speaks to the recipient, right? Remember, we talked about tone, friendly versus formal. You're able to select the tone that makes sense to you. And so you don't have to remember to put it here. You can just say, I'm going through these drop downs. Oh, yeah. What tone? Does it need to be formal because I'm approaching those C levels? Is it more of a friendly email? Do I want to be humorous? How do I want this output to sound to the reader when they read it? So lots of options here as far as the tone is concerned, which is amazing when it comes to having an output that really makes sense for you, right? And then finally, the video will catch up with me here in a second, is the brand voice option. This is a deal breaker. This is such a game changer, actually. That's the word that I was looking for. Brand voice is where you can add your brand voice by clicking this little plus sign and input some data, whether that's your company website URL. You can put a couple of paragraphs in there and say, I want this brand voice. I want all of the pieces that I write to sound like my company, my brand. And that will be identified and saved within your Evolved Office account. And so you can always go back and say, okay, brand voice, I'm going to use, my standard XYZ, Office Solutions brand voice, right? The cool thing though is that you can add more brand voices. So if you maybe like me and have a CEO who's very engaging and energetic and funny, then having that person have their own brand voice. So if you send stuff from your CEO, you can identify that here. It's set and it's going to sound like your CEO. It's going to sound like your VP of sales. So by setting that, you can have that available to you in your Evolved Office account, and it'll be ready to go. Super simple to add. Definitely recommend adding it so that everything you put, it'll help with you know, the the outputs being really kind of similar across all of your marketing, right? That brand identity is there. So after you've selected all these drop downs, you can write something amazing. That's our suggestion. Like, what is your prompt? What is your command? One thing to note though is that if you do need help, there's a little link here that says click here. And I wanted to show you what that takes you to, right? So we have this really amazing knowledge base that we have people on our team that have worked so hard to put these articles together for you. And it's going to tell you anything you need to know and it walk you through the steps. So when it comes to this particular webinar, we have an article that's understanding article prompts, maximizing your eoScribe experience, right? So this is a fantastic resource for you to leverage at any point. You can get right to it from the Evolved Office platform and really say, okay, I don't remember how to do this. Let me check out their knowledge base. And as an aside, something to consider is that this knowledge base extends beyond eoScribe. So that amazing team that I was referencing, I definitely want to shout them out a little bit. There's all different aspects to our knowledge base that you're welcome to use and look into, whether that's parts of just the application of the editor of all the articles, the newsletters, how to put e-shots together, all of the information you need, video, all of it, social, all within the knowledge base. And so that's a great resource to make sure that you're taking advantage of. I definitely recommend it. A lot of time went into that, and there's tons of articles there that can really help you leverage the platform as a whole, and here with eoScribe. Okay, so I'm putting in this prompt, right? And it's just saying to draft an email of a prospect, thanking them for their time today. Acknowledge their interest in our document management solution, and reinforce that it's a fantastic solution for law firms like his. And by saying that, I look forward to speaking with the prospect and the firm's partner on Tuesday at 9 a.m., right? So one of the things, if you are in a rush, if you don't remember some of the things from today, you can always click this improve prompt button, which is super cool. You can give it some of the details, and then we'll automatically, this is part of that coding that I was talking about that really sets eoScribe apart. It'll automatically improve the language that's used to get you a better result. If you're happy with it, though, you can always just hit generate, right? But the improve prompt button is something that's really cool that I absolutely recommend to try out when you're using eoScribe. So we're going to hit generate. And next it's going to say, okay, quick check. This is our disclaimer. AI is awesome, but it's not perfect. So make sure you read through the ultimate output before publishing, or really before you broadcast it or use it in any way. We want to make sure that it's exactly what you want it to be. So that's part of the human element. It's AI is not on its own, right? You have to tell it what you want, and then you have to read through it. Make sure, is it saying, thanks for your time today. I'm excited about our potential of working together and helping your firm achieve new levels of efficiency and success, right? You've got to make sure that the AI is giving you exactly what you want. So make sure you do that. And this is exactly what we asked for, right? It's an email. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. Within the Evolved Office structure, once you click that apply button, so it's going to format it, whether you're sending it, obviously in the context of this, I didn't put somebody's name. You'd have to change that, as well as that signature line. Now, the next thing that we want to showcase here for just a second is that it doesn't end with text. This is next level cool, right? So we're just going to drag this single image structure over. And just like when you click the text, if you click the image, you can select eoScribe. You're going to generate a new image here at the top, right? So we know, based on the first prompt, that the industry itself is that legal industry. Again, here's like a quick peek at some of the options that you have in this super extensive drop-down list of industries that you can choose from, right? If you kind of go through and pick the industry that you want, if you want, it can just be a general business image as well if you're not trying to target. But again, we definitely recommend segmenting and targeting your marketing. Then over here, we have the type of image that you're going to produce, right? So is it going to be photorealistic? Is it going to be 2D? Do you want a cartoon, right? Do you want it to how do you want it to look in the end, right? So you can select that option here at the top under this drop down. So it's really similar to the text-based drop down. You type in here, create something amazing, right? So if you need help, you can click here. It's going to take you right back to the knowledge base. We're going to tell it to generate an image of a law office. That includes two corporate attorneys working together on a case, right? Now, would we necessarily put an image in a letter like this? No. So hang with me just for example's sake, right? Um, you have to title the image and it will live in your Evolved Office account so you can use it later if it makes sense to use later as well. Can generate up to 5 images per minute here in the Evolved Office platform with eoScribe. And here's our image, two attorneys, scales of justice, got some law books, you import it, and you're good to go, right? So you're able to, once you're in this screen, if you want to switch around things, if you want to edit the text, oh, I saw something and I didn't put my name, I didn't put my title, whatever. If you need to make any changes within the piece itself, it's exactly like what you're used to within Evolved Office. It's just giving you this text to work with. And then from there, send it, get it out. Use the text that's there to market your business, to prospect, and to generate images where needed. And this is across the board, right? So this can apply to social media posts. It applies to one-off emails. It can apply to newsletters. If you want to create journeys, drip campaigns, can apply this across the board when it comes to your Evolved Office. Your use of the Evolved Office platform and all of the tools that we have there, eoScribe is going to be available to you no matter the structure, no matter what it is, you can use it. So super cool stuff, all in the same place. We're really excited about some of the offerings that we're giving you because we know that you're not necessarily going to always write the perfect prompt. I still don't write all perfect prompts, right? So we're trying to give you a head start as a dealer to really make the most out of your time and to leverage AI in a way that other people aren't and to give you a leg up on the competition. Okay, you've been so kind and you've hung in there with me and you've let me talk on and on. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. My hope and goal for you is that you think of me the next time you sit down in front of an AI tool and you think, oh, I have to be specific. Oh, I need to start with a verb. Oh, my outputs are coming out the same and I'm getting stuck in a little bit of a rut. Like I want that to happen, to just little light bulbs in your head about when you're writing commands. I hope they're easy to remember. Maybe you'll remember Tina Fey or my Westies, and really get the outputs you need and streamline your efforts so that you can get on to bigger and broader things, right? One thing to think about too is that eoScribe, our proprietary tool within the Evolved Office platform, does a lot more than what I just showcased, right? Um, and the cool thing is that if you have an Evolved Office account, you have access to eoScribe right now. I will say that uh, we might be giving you the first sneak peek at image generation. I'm going to go ahead and ask that we turn that on in all of your accounts just for tuning in today and sticking with me for the past hour. So remember, it's built for you. It knows that you're a reseller or you're an MSP marketing to small businesses locally. So there's a ton of coding that's going to make it exactly what you want it to be. I really encourage you to test it, to try it out, to see what you can get out of the system, and really start brainstorming bigger and better things for your marketing. Don't forget about that knowledge link, the knowledge base link that I mentioned as well. Feel free to contact our support team, check out the knowledge base if you're ever in a bind with the platform. We're happy to help you. And I am including a couple of things here on this last slide. Register for our next webinar is the first one. So you can click this. That next webinar is all about brainstorming and creativity when it comes to AI. So we'll dive into that a little bit further. Or please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you and keep things going, keep the conversation going. So feel free to scan this QR code here on the right and connect with me on LinkedIn. Really hoping that you'll join us on the next webinar as well. So don't forget to scan this one on the left. I'm going to see really quickly if we have any questions. Let me see what's going on over here. So I have a question about Canada and our provinces for localization of within the dropdown on eoScribe. I'm sure that we do, and if not, I will figure out how to get them. I will get back to you independently on that. So hang tight for an answer. Um, the next question is about brand voice, which is great. How do you recommend going about making it sound like a rep? For a company's brand voice, it's more straightforward, copying content from your website. That's a great question, actually. So when it comes to creating a brand voice for a rep, I would suggest to ask the rep to send you a few emails. And those emails that are one-off emails that rep wrote to one customer, right? And so what you can do is get kind of a sense of their writing style, how they approach things. Are they using tons of exclamation points? Are they pretty cut and dry? It's going to give that context for the writing itself within brand voice. I would also recommend just to kind of think about that person as a person, right? Like, are they super friendly? Are they more reserved and formal as people? And you can kind of incorporate that as well. And how you want to present that person within the scope of being part of your brand, right? So in that professional way. I think your best bet, though, would be to get some emails, get some example text, and add those to the brand voice option for that particular rep. Thank you for the person that commented that this is really cool. I appreciate that. I'm not taking any of the credit for eoScribe as far as that's concerned. It's such a labor of love. We've been working on it for a while, and it's been an amazing journey. And we're really, really proud of it as a company. And we're really excited to present it to you. Being in this industry as a Evolved Office has been here for so long that um, your industry is our industry, and we want to see you do well. And so if we can help you by providing these tools, um, that's part of our goal is to make your lives easier. Okay, I have another question, and that is, how do I maintain consistency in AI prompts when working across different projects? That is a really, really broad and really good question, because I think sometimes it can seem disjointed, right? Um, if you're working on a project in a couple of different places, it can seem like, hey, two separate people wrote this, but it's supposed to come from one person, right? And I think honestly, that's the beauty of eoScribe, right? You're able to write everything within the same workflow, within the same workspace. And that means that you're going to have that consistency across prompts, because the coding that's built in is going to be consistent across prompts. And you're not having to open up your AI tool and then copy and paste it back into Evolved Office and then go back and change something. And it's all in one place. It's all in one place for you. So I think that's one of the things. Consistency also is all about what you're putting in and making sure. And remember, I said earlier, if all else fails, like, talk to your AI and say, hey, this isn't like the previous output, it needs to align with that better and do that iterative process of course correcting where needed. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I really appreciate your time today. I've been excited about this webinar. I am a nerd for AI and for content creation in particular. And so this is really fun to put together. Thank you so much for being here. Um, oh, actually, we have one more question if you're cool to hang out. And that is, what are some common mistakes that people make when using AI? Well, some of them are kind of like exactly what we talked about, but the inverse, right? So they're like super general. They're not providing enough context, enough information to really get what you need. Other mistakes can be not working with the AI and just expecting it to produce exactly what you need the first way around. Like a huge mistake is copying and pasting and not doing your due diligence and reading something or just hitting submit with whatever the AI prompts generated and not proofreading. Proofreading is your friend always. There's always a human element to this, particularly when you're representing a business, right? That's huge. So very important. I hope this helped. Really hope that you join us in our next webinar as well. That's coming up next month. Don't forget to scan this QR code. And if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, we are here to help you. So reach out to support, reach out to me directly if you have something about AI that's really specific based on this webinar. Um, Looking forward to seeing all of the amazing things that you create with eoScribe and just really excited about that as an option for you. So remember that that's turned on right now. Log into EO and start using it. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and I will see you next month at the next webinar. Okay, bye.